The Galactic Empire was a force unlike any other in the universe. Spanning across countless star systems, their fleets commanded entire galaxies. Planets bent to their will. Civilizations swallowed up without resistance. The Empire had never known defeat, and its leaders ruled with an iron fist. They thought themselves invincible, their power unrivaled. But they had no idea what they were about to face. The Earth, a tiny blue planet tucked away in a forgotten corner of the galaxy, had remained under the radar for centuries. For the most part, humans had been busy with their own struggles, building their own world, unaware of the vast cosmos beyond their skies. But that all changed when an Empire scout ship, searching for new planets to conquer, discovered Earth. They had heard rumors about the humans, but no one in the Empire truly believed the stories. Earth, they thought, was just another primitive planet filled with fragile, weak species. It wasn't long before the Empire's ambassadors arrived on Earth, their ships descending from the sky like metal giants. The humans, startled but not fearful, gathered their leaders for a meeting with the Empire's representatives. The Empire had come with demands. Earth would join their alliance or be destroyed. The humans, however, were not as helpless as the Empire thought. They had made incredible advancements in science and technology, building things no alien civilization could have imagined. Still, the humans were cautious. They understood the gravity of the situation. Earth had no desire for war, but they knew they could not bow down to such a powerful foe. In a tense meeting held in the United Nations headquarters, the human leaders stood firm. They had prepared a message, one that they would deliver to the Empire's ambassadors. "Tell your Empire," the human spokesperson, General Sarah Williams, said with calm authority, "that Earth is not to be taken lightly. We will not submit to your rule. We will fight to protect our planet." The Empire's ambassadors sneered at the message. They were used to weaker species trembling at their feet, begging for mercy. They laughed at the humans, dismissing their threats as empty words. "Do you think you can stand against the might of the Galactic Empire?" One of the ambassadors mocked. "You're nothing but insects compared to us. Your technology is primitive. Your weapons are useless. We've crushed entire civilizations like yours in the blink of an eye." General Williams stood tall, her expression unwavering. "We may be small, but we are not weak. We have something you don't: determination. And that will be our weapon." The room fell silent for a moment. The Empire's ambassadors exchanged glances, not quite understanding the weight of her words. They had heard many species make similar threats in the past, only to break under the pressure of the Empire's might. They believed this would be no different. After a brief pause, the ambassador in charge spoke again. "You have been warned, Earth. Surrender now or face destruction. We will give you one chance to bow before the might of the Empire. Refuse, and you will pay the price." General Williams didn't hesitate. "We won't bow to you. Leave Earth, or we will make sure you regret this." With that, the Empire's delegation left the room. Their parting words echoed in the minds of the human leaders. "We gave you a chance. You've sealed your fate." But the humans did not panic. They knew what had to be done. In the days that followed, Earth's scientists, engineers, and military commanders gathered in secret. They knew they would need to fight, and they would need to fight smart. The Galactic Empire was powerful, but they had something the Empire could never predict: the heart of humanity. As the human leaders prepared for what was coming, a deep sense of unity began to take root across Earth. People from every nation, every culture, and every background set aside their differences. They all had one common enemy now: the Galactic Empire. They didn't have the Empire's advanced weaponry or vast fleets, but they had something far more valuable: human ingenuity. And so, while the Empire's ships hovered in the sky, preparing to strike, the humans made their preparations. The first battle had yet to begin, but the humans had already sent a clear message. They were not afraid. They would not go down without a fight. As the Empire made its final preparations for invasion, they could never have imagined the fierce resistance they would encounter from the humans. The warning had been given. Now, the stage was set. The fight for Earth had begun. The Empire's massive fleet entered Earth's orbit with overwhelming power. Ships the size of cities loomed in the sky, their hulls shining with an almost menacing glow. The people of Earth watched in horror, knowing that this would be the moment that determined their future. The invasion was no longer a distant threat. It was real. But humanity did not falter. General Sarah Williams and the world's military leaders had spent every moment since the warning preparing for this day. They knew that a conventional defense against the Empire's massive fleet would be useless. The Empire had technology far beyond anything Earth possessed. Yet the humans had something else, something the Empire had never faced. A relentless spirit to protect their home, and a willingness to use every resource at their disposal. The first strike came with little warning. The Empire's flagship, a massive warship called the Dominus, fired its weapons at Earth's surface, targeting major cities. Lasers and energy beams sliced through the atmosphere, leaving trails of destruction. People screamed in terror as buildings crumbled to the ground, and fires erupted across the landscape. The Empire's attack was swift, their firepower overwhelming. But humans were used to hardship. They had survived wars, disasters, and countless challenges. This would not be the moment they gave up. General Williams, standing in the command center, watched the destruction unfold with a cold determination in her eyes. "Activate the countermeasures," she ordered firmly. She knew that the first strike was just a test, a way for the Empire to gauge Earth's defenses. They would not back down. "Prepare the human fleet. We fight back now." Humanity's response was quick. Earth's military had developed new weapons in secret, hoping they would never need to use them. The new fleet of advanced ships, designed with the help of Earth's brightest minds, was ready for battle. These ships weren't as massive as the Empire's warships, but they were nimble, fast, and armed with newly developed energy weapons, based on technology that the Empire had never seen before. The first wave of human ships launched from Earth's spaceports. The Empire had expected little resistance, but they quickly learned they had underestimated humanity's ingenuity. Earth's fleet entered the fray, striking at the Empire's ships with surprising accuracy. The humans used the terrain of their home planet, pulling off maneuvers that confounded the Empire's experienced commanders. One human ship, the Valiant, led the charge. Its captain, Captain Alex Grant, was a decorated officer known for his quick thinking and fearlessness. He directed his ship through tight maneuvers, dodging enemy fire as he aimed for weak spots on the Empire's ships. The Valiant fired a powerful energy beam, striking the side of an Empire warship. For a moment, the Empire's ship seemed unaffected, but then a massive explosion rippled across its hull. "Direct hit. We've breached their shields," shouted one of the officers aboard the Valiant. The humans were shocked, and so were the Empire's forces. The energy weapon had worked, but not as they had expected. The humans' technology was far from perfect, but it was enough to start causing real damage. The Empire's fleet quickly reorganized, launching counterattacks and deploying smaller fighter ships to deal with the humans' resistance. But this only made things more interesting for Earth's forces. The humans were resourceful, using everything from old fighter jets to newly designed stealth ships to engage the Empire. They fought in unexpected ways, hitting where the Empire least expected it. They didn't have the numbers or firepower of the Empire, but they made up for it with determination, cunning, and unity. The humans knew they couldn't win this war in a single day. It wasn't about winning outright. It was about sending a message to the Empire that they had made a huge mistake underestimating Earth. As the day wore on, the battle raged across Earth's skies, turning the planet's orbit into a chaotic battlefield. But there were no signs of surrender from the human forces. They fought on, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Every strike the Empire made was met with fierce resistance. Earth's military had learned quickly how to use the terrain to their advantage. They would not give in. In the middle of the battle, General Williams addressed her commanders. We may not have the Empire's resources, but we have something they can never understand. Our fight is for something greater, our home. And we will not stop until we have pushed them back." At that moment, the Empire's leadership began to realize something they hadn't considered before. They were not fighting a planet full of weak, primitive beings. They were fighting a species unlike any they had encountered. The humans didn't just fight for survival. They fought for the very idea of freedom, something the Empire had long since forgotten. Despite the devastation, despite the overwhelming odds, the humans fought on. The first day of the war ended not in victory, but in defiance. The Empire had launched their attack, but the humans had struck back with a force that sent a powerful message to the galaxy. The Empire may have thought they could conquer Earth with ease, but they had learned their first lesson the hard way. Never underestimate humanity. The days following the first strike were filled with chaos and confusion, but also with hope. The humans had done the unthinkable. They had survived the Empire's initial assault and fought back with a strength that even the most seasoned commanders of the Galactic Empire had never imagined. But the battle was far from over. The Empire, furious at their losses, was regrouping, preparing for a much larger offensive. Earth, on the other hand, was facing a difficult challenge: how to keep up the fight against an enemy with more resources and power than they had ever faced. While the skies above Earth burned with the aftermath of battle, a quiet determination began to rise among the people. In cities all over the planet, people came together, setting aside their differences and joining the fight. Scientists, engineers, and inventors who had once worked in secret now found themselves leading the charge, developing new technologies to give Earth's forces the edge they needed. Humanity's creativity and drive were their greatest assets, and now they would use them to stand strong against the Empire. General Sarah Williams, the leader of Earth's military, held a series of emergency meetings with her advisors and military leaders. She knew that the Empire would not stop until they had destroyed Earth, and if they couldn't stop them soon, the consequences could be catastrophic. "We've had some victories, but it's not enough," General Williams said, her voice steady but filled with urgency. "The Empire will be back with everything they have. We need to be ready for the next phase." Her words echoed through the war room, and the room fell silent as her commanders considered her advice. They were all aware of the reality. Earth was still outmatched. The Empire's warships, with their advanced weapons and technology, were nearly unstoppable. But the humans had one advantage. They were fighting for survival. "I've been speaking with the scientists at the Tech Division," Captain Alex Grant said, standing up from the table. "They believe we can develop a new type of energy shield that might be able to withstand the Empire's laser weapons. If we can get it ready in time, it could change everything." The scientists on Earth were working around the clock, pushing the limits of human knowledge. They were combining the best of Earth's technology with the resources they had gained from the first battle. It was a race against time, but the humans were determined to succeed. "We'll need to move quickly," General Williams replied. "If we don't have that shield ready when the Empire launches their next attack, we could lose everything." Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, the Empire's leaders were growing furious at their failure to crush Earth. The loss of several warships in the initial battle had shaken their confidence. They had expected a quick victory, but instead, they were faced with a fierce and stubborn resistance. Now their emperor demanded answers. The Empire's fleet was being reassembled with a renewed sense of purpose. "We will not let these humans embarrass us again," the emperor declared, his voice filled with fury. "Prepare the full force of the fleet. This time, Earth will fall." The Empire's commanders scrambled to launch a new wave of warships, all equipped with even more advanced weapons. They knew the humans had put up a good fight, but they believed that they could still crush Earth's defenses with sheer force. This time, the Empire was bringing everything they had. Back on Earth, the preparations continued. General Williams and her team knew the next attack could be their last chance to stop the Empire. Every available resource was being put into strengthening Earth's defenses. Earth's best minds were working together, pulling off what seemed impossible just weeks earlier. They were creating new technologies, repurposing old weapons, and even training civilians to take up arms in defense of their planet. As the days passed, the tension on Earth grew. People were afraid, but they were also determined. The idea of losing their home was unbearable. The soldiers, once unsure of their ability to stand against such an overwhelming enemy, now found strength in the unity of the people they were fighting to protect. They were no longer just fighting for survival. They were fighting for the future of their children, their families, and their way of life. In the midst of all this, something incredible happened. News spread across the world that a large group of alien species, some who had witnessed the humans fight against the Empire, had begun to offer their support. The Galactic Federation, a loose alliance of planets who opposed the Empire's rule, had quietly watched humanity's fight from the sidelines. And now, they were ready to stand with Earth. A delegation from the Federation arrived on Earth's capital, offering technology, resources, and military support. They had witnessed Earth's bravery and resilience, and they knew that if Earth fell, the Empire's domination would be unstoppable. Earth's fight had become a symbol of hope for many other planets that had suffered under the Empire's rule. "We can't fight them alone," General Williams said as she addressed her team. "But with the help of the Federation, we have a chance. Together, we can make the Empire regret ever crossing our path." The gathering storm was about to break. The Empire's fleet was on the move, and Earth was preparing for its next battle. This time, humanity wasn't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for the galaxy's future. The time for waiting was over. The Empire's fleet had gathered its forces, assembling at the edge of the Andromeda Gate, a massive intergalactic space bridge that connected the Empire to many star systems across the galaxy. The Andromeda Gate was one of the Empire's most important strategic points, a symbol of their dominance and the key to conquering more worlds. Now, it would be the site of Earth's most desperate battle. General Sarah Williams stood before a large holographic map, her eyes fixed on the glowing red mark that signified the Andromeda Gate. The stakes couldn't be higher. If the Empire could secure the gate, it would have an open path to Earth's neighboring star systems, making Earth an easy target for full conquest. "We don't have much time," General Williams said, her voice steady, but the weight of the situation was clear. "The Empire will use the Andromeda Gate to send reinforcements. If we don't stop them here, we'll be fighting them on our doorstep." Captain Alex Grant, now leading one of Earth's most advanced ships, the Valiant, turned to face the room. "We've got a plan, but it's risky. We'll be outnumbered, and the Empire has superior firepower. But if we can take out their command ship, the Dominus, we'll disrupt their entire operation." The room fell silent as the commanders processed the plan. Taking down the Dominus was no small task. The ship was enormous, heavily armored, and packed with the Empire's best weapons. It had already proven its might when it led the first strike against Earth. But Earth had learned a lot since that day. They had new technology, new strategies, and most importantly, new allies. The Federation, a group of planets that opposed the Empire's tyranny, had joined the humans. Their ships were smaller than the Empire's, but they were fast and equipped with advanced stealth capabilities. Together, Earth and the Federation were ready to strike. As the human and Federation fleets gathered in space, ready to launch their assault, the Empire's forces began to make their move. The Dominus and its fleet surged through the Andromeda Gate, entering Earth's star system with terrifying speed. The Empire's armada was vast. Countless ships stretched across the sky, blocking out the stars. But the humans and their allies were not intimidated. They had trained for this moment. "We go in hard and fast," General Williams ordered. "Strike at their weakest points, and don't stop until we've taken down the Dominus." The battle began with a deafening roar of engines as the human and Federation ships surged forward, racing toward the Empire's fleet. The Valiant, along with several Federation ships, led the charge. They fired their newly developed energy beams, which cut through the Empire's defenses with surprising force. The Empire's ships, still confident in their power, initially tried to push back, but the humans had learned from their earlier battle. They knew that speed and agility were their only chance to avoid the Empire's overwhelming firepower. The first wave of attacks hit the Empire's ships with precision, but the Dominus was still protected by its formidable shields. Earth's forces had to get closer, much closer, to do any real damage. As the battle raged, the humans moved in quickly, using their smaller ships to outmaneuver the larger Empire warships. They launched daring attacks, distracting the Empire's forces while the main fleet, including the Valiant, prepared for a direct strike on the Dominus. Captain Grant's voice rang out over the communications channel. "We're going in. All ships, follow my lead. Prepare for close combat." The human ships weaved between enemy fire, dodging blasts from the Empire's warships. The Dominus loomed ahead, its massive form almost blocking out the stars. The tension was thick in the air as the Valiant and the other ships closed the gap. "Brace for impact," shouted one of the crew members. The Valiant rocketed toward the Dominus, firing its powerful energy beams at the command ship's exposed sides. The shots hit their target, and the Dominus trembled as its shields faltered. But it wasn't enough to bring the mighty ship down. "We need to hit their engines," Captain Grant ordered. "All ships, focus on the Dominus engines." The ships swarmed around the Dominus, using their speed and agility to get in close enough to attack its vulnerable points. Blasts of energy flew in every direction as the humans fought with everything they had. The battle was chaotic, filled with explosions and the sounds of ships crashing into each other. But the humans didn't back down. General Williams, watching from Earth's command center, clenched her fists. The battle had reached a critical point. The Empire was powerful, but the humans had something they couldn't understand: an unyielding will to protect their home. The Federation ships, using their advanced stealth technology, struck from the shadows, attacking the Dominus from multiple angles. Slowly, but surely, the Dominus began to weaken. The Empire's ships, though vast, were starting to lose their grip on the battle. "Keep pushing," shouted Captain Grant. "We're almost there." Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the Dominus shields collapsed, and the Valiant delivered the final blow, sending a powerful energy strike straight into the command ship's core. The explosion lit up the sky, a bright flash of light that marked a turning point in the battle. The Empire's fleet, now disoriented and leaderless, began to falter. The humans, though battered, pressed on, taking advantage of the chaos to destroy the remaining ships. Earth had won the battle of the Andromeda Gate. The Dominus was no more, and the Empire's command structure had been shattered. The humans had shown the Empire that they were not a people to be taken lightly, and with the gate closed, Earth had bought itself precious time. But the war was far from over. The Empire would return, and Earth would have to be ready for whatever came next. The Battle of the Andromeda Gate had been a victory for Earth, but it was a bittersweet one. The Empire's massive fleet had been pushed back, and their command ship, the Dominus, had been destroyed. But the cost had been high. Earth's forces, though victorious, had taken heavy losses. Ships were damaged, and many brave soldiers had given their lives for the fight. Still, their victory had sent a clear message to the Empire. Earth was not an easy target. General Sarah Williams stood in the war room, reviewing the battle reports. She looked at the holographic display of Earth's fleet. It was battered, but still intact. The Federation ships that had joined the fight had also taken heavy losses, but they too had proven their worth in the battle. "We've shown them we can win," General Williams said, her voice steady but filled with determination. "But they won't stop. We have to be ready for what comes next." Captain Alex Grant, who had commanded the Valiant, walked up to her side. "The Empire won't take this defeat lying down. They're going to regroup, rebuild, and strike harder than ever before." We need to prepare for that. The thought of the Empire rebuilding so quickly weighed heavily on everyone. The Dominus was a critical loss for the Empire, but their resources were nearly endless. The humans knew that they couldn't rest on their laurels. They needed to plan ahead for the coming storm. General Williams turned to her team. We need to gather every resource, every ally we can find. The Federation has offered their support, but we may need more. We're going to need everything we've got to hold them off. The Federation had indeed proven to be valuable allies. Their ships were smaller and faster than the Empire's, and their technology had given Earth the edge in the battle. But even with the Federation's help, Earth knew they couldn't fight the Empire alone. They needed to find new allies, and fast. On the other side of the galaxy, the Empire's leadership was in turmoil. Their defeat at the Andromeda Gate had been a major embarrassment. The Emperor, furious at the loss of the Dominus, called for an emergency meeting with his top commanders. We cannot allow this to stand. The Emperor raged, his voice cold and angry. The humans have shown that they can hurt us, but they don't have the strength to win. We will crush them once and for all. The Empire's fleet was already being rebuilt. New warships, larger and more powerful than before, were being constructed at an alarming rate. The Emperor had learned from the defeat at the Andromeda Gate, and he was preparing to strike Earth with even greater force. We'll send the full might of the Empire, one of the commanders suggested. This time, we'll leave nothing to chance. Earth will fall. Back on Earth, General Williams and her team worked tirelessly to prepare for the Empire's next move. Earth's military was stretched thin, but they had no choice but to keep fighting. The people of Earth were more united than ever before. They had faced destruction, and yet they had risen. The idea of losing their home, their families, was unthinkable. We can't let them win, General Williams said firmly. We've survived their first attack. We've fought back. Now we need to go on the offensive. Earth's scientists, working in collaboration with the Federation, continued to develop new weapons and defenses. Their goal was clear. They needed to find a way to push the Empire back once and for all. New energy shields were being developed to protect Earth's ships from the Empire's devastating lasers. Weapons that could match the Empire's firepower were being tested, and the first prototypes were showing promising results. As the days passed, Earth's forces grew stronger. The people rallied behind the military, offering resources, supplies, and even their own expertise. Engineers from all over the world worked together, building the new weapons and ships that Earth would need to fight the Empire. But despite all their efforts, there was a growing sense of dread. Earth had no illusions. They knew that the Empire wouldn't stop until they had crushed humanity completely. The next battle would be their greatest challenge yet. We can't let fear control us, Captain Grant said as he stood before a room of soldiers preparing for the next phase of the war. We've already beaten them once. We can do it again. We fight for our home, for our future. We fight for every person who believes that Earth should remain free. The soldiers nodded, their faces filled with determination. The people of Earth had always fought for their survival. They had fought wars, faced natural disasters, and overcome hardships. But nothing had prepared them for the war they were now engaged in. The Empire was an enemy unlike any they had ever faced. In the weeks that followed, Earth's defenses were strengthened, and their fleet grew. The Federation continued to offer support, but Earth was learning to stand on its own. The humans were no longer the helpless targets they had once been. They were learning to fight back with everything they had. And yet, even as Earth prepared for the next battle, the Empire was readying its own forces for a final, decisive attack. They had rebuilt their fleet, reinforced their weapons, and were coming for Earth with a fury unlike anything the humans had ever seen. The war was far from over. Earth had won a battle, but the ultimate fight was still ahead. It was a fight that would determine not just the fate of Earth, but the future of the galaxy itself. The Empire's ships had been rebuilt, and their fleet was stronger than ever. General Sarah Williams stared at the holographic map, her face grim as she watched the Empire's Armada move toward Earth. This time, the stakes were higher than before. Earth had only one chance to stop the Empire, and this battle would be their last hope for survival. "We've trained, we've prepared, but this will be the hardest fight we've ever faced," General Williams said, her voice heavy with the weight of the situation. "The Empire is bringing everything they have. We'll have to strike first, and we'll have to strike hard." Her words were met with nods of agreement. Earth's military was ready, but they knew the Empire's strength was overwhelming. Their ships were faster, their weapons stronger, and their numbers almost infinite. The human fleet, though bolstered by Federation allies, still faced a near-impossible task. "We've got no choice," Captain Alex Grant replied, his eyes determined. "We fight because if we don't, Earth falls. We'll show the Empire they can't just take our world." The Federation had been instrumental in preparing for this final confrontation. Their smaller, faster ships had been integrated into Earth's forces, providing valuable support. The Federation's advanced stealth technology gave them the element of surprise, while Earth's newly developed energy shields would offer some protection against the Empire's devastating firepower. It was the best plan they could come up with, but even that seemed like a long shot. As the two fleets neared, the tension in the air was palpable. On Earth, every available resource was being devoted to the fight. Civilians and soldiers alike were ready to do whatever it took to protect their planet. Engineers worked around the clock, ensuring that Earth's defenses were ready for the onslaught. People volunteered to serve in any capacity they could, whether it was repairing ships, delivering supplies, or aiding in medical efforts. Earth was united like never before. But deep down, everyone knew that no matter how hard they fought, the battle could be lost. The Empire's forces were nearly unstoppable, and Earth's forces were only beginning to learn how to fight back with real power. It was a race against time. Earth had to act before the Empire's fleet could set its sights on their world. "Captain Grant, we're ready," said Lieutenant Harper, his voice coming over the intercom. "The ships are all in position. We're waiting for your orders." Grant stood in the command center of the Valiant, his eyes focused on the screen displaying the Empire's fleet. They were coming in fast, and there was no turning back. He turned to General Williams for one last piece of guidance. "General, it's now or never. We've trained for this moment. The Empire won't hold back. If we don't stop them now, it's over," he said, his voice firm. "Then we fight," General Williams said with determination. "We fight like we've never fought before. Our planet's future is at stake. For Earth. For the galaxy. Let's give everything we have." The battle began in an instant. Earth's fleet, along with the Federation's ships, surged forward to meet the Empire's massive armada. The sky above Earth was lit up with the flash of energy weapons as the two forces collided in a storm of laser fire and explosions. The humans knew they couldn't match the Empire's firepower directly. They had to use their agility and speed to outmaneuver their enemies. The Valiant and the Federation ships darted through space, launching surprise attacks on the Empire's weaker ships and targeting their vulnerable spots. "We need to disable their heavy artillery," Captain Grant shouted. "Focus all firepower on their main guns." The human and Federation ships used their advanced weaponry to strike at the Empire's most powerful ships, while avoiding their heavier weapons. The Empire's fleet, though huge, was slow to react to the unexpected tactics. The humans had learned how to fight smarter, not harder. As the battle raged on, Earth's forces began to show signs of success. Several of the Empire's smaller ships were destroyed, and a few of their larger ships had their shields breached. But the Empire wasn't finished yet. The Dominus had been destroyed, but the Empire had other command ships ready to lead their forces. One of those ships, the Inferno, was now leading the charge. "The Inferno is approaching," one of the officers cried out. "It's one of their biggest ships. We can't let it get any closer." Captain Grant's eyes narrowed. He knew that taking down the Inferno was crucial to Earth's chances of winning. but getting close to such a massive ship would be dangerous. "Get us in position," Grant ordered. "We'll need to hit them with everything we've got." The Valiant and the other ships raced toward the Inferno, their weapons firing nonstop as they closed the gap. The Empire's ship returned fire with its massive cannons, the blasts shaking the very fabric of space. The human ships took heavy damage, but they pressed on. "We can't take much more of this," Lieutenant Harper called out. "Shields are failing. We have to finish this now," Captain Grant shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "All ships, focus on the Inferno's engines. Take them down." With a coordinated strike, the human and Federation ships launched a series of devastating attacks aimed at the Inferno's engines. The Empire's mighty ship trembled as its shields began to fail. It wasn't enough to destroy it yet, but the Inferno was losing power. The tide was beginning to turn, but the battle was far from over. Earth's forces were winning, but at great cost. The Empire's remaining ships were still powerful, and the final moments of the battle would determine whether Earth could survive. The battle had reached its peak. The Empire's fleet, though damaged, was still vast, and its remaining ships were regrouping for a final push. Earth's forces had suffered heavy losses, but they had not given up. The Valiant and the remaining human ships fought with everything they had, their crews exhausted but determined. On Earth, General Sarah Williams watched from the war room, her heart pounding. She knew the next few hours would decide everything. If they didn't defeat the Empire now, Earth would fall, and the galaxy's fate would be sealed. "The Inferno's engines are down," Captain Alex Grant's voice crackled through the intercom. "But we've taken heavy damage. Shields are almost gone." Williams clenched her fists. The Inferno, one of the Empire's most powerful ships, was now crippled, but its allies were still a threat. The humans had been clever, using speed and surprise to take down several of the Empire's ships. But the remaining Empire forces were gathering for one final assault. This would be their last chance. "We need to take out their command ship," General Williams said, her voice unwavering. "That's the heart of their fleet. If we can destroy it, we'll cripple their entire force." The final command ship of the Empire, the Eclipse, loomed ahead, a massive, nearly indestructible warship. It was protected by an army of smaller ships, each ready to fight to the death for the Empire. The humans had no choice but to face it head-on. "We're ready," Captain Grant said, his voice determined. "The Valiant will lead the charge. All ships, follow my lead." As Earth's fleet made its way toward the Eclipse, every crew member knew the risks. They were down to their last resources. The ships were battered, their weapons nearly depleted. But the fire in their hearts was stronger than ever. Earth would not be conquered. Not today. The Eclipse unleashed a barrage of fire, its massive cannons lighting up the sky as Earth's ships pushed forward. It was the last line of defense for the Empire, and they were fighting with everything they had. The air was filled with explosions and the roar of energy beams as the two fleets collided once more. "Brace for impact," Captain Grant ordered. The Valiant dodged incoming blasts, its engines firing at full power as it closed the gap between itself and the Eclipse. Every moment counted. Every shot had to count. "We've got to get through their defenses," one of the officers shouted. "Their shields are too strong for a direct attack." General Williams knew this would happen. The Eclipse's shields were some of the strongest the Empire had ever created. But Earth had learned a lot from their previous battles. They had one final weapon, a special charge that could break through even the most powerful shields. It was risky, but it was their only hope. "Activate the ion charge," Williams ordered. "Send it directly to the Eclipse's core." The crew of the Valiant worked quickly, preparing the weapon. It was their last chance to destroy the heart of the Empire's fleet, but it had to be launched at the perfect moment, or it would miss. As the Valiant and the other ships pressed forward, they fought with every ounce of strength. The Empire's forces tried to push back, but Earth's ships were relentless. The smaller, faster Federation ships darted in and out, firing at weak points in the Empire's fleet, while the human ships focused on taking down the remaining defenses of the Eclipse. "Target locked," Lieutenant Harper said, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Ion charge ready for launch." The Eclipse fired one last massive blast, and the Valiant took a direct hit. The shields failed. The ship shook violently, and alarms blared as damage reports flooded in. "We're losing power," one of the officers yelled. "We've got to launch the charge now." Captain Grant, his face set in a mask of determination, held his ground. "Do it. Now." With a final push, the ion charge was launched toward the Eclipse. It traveled through space, cutting through enemy fire, and hit the massive ship's core with a tremendous explosion. For a moment, everything went still. The Eclipse shook violently as its shields flickered and failed. Then, with a blinding flash, the Empire's command ship exploded in a wave of energy that lit up the sky. "We did it," Captain Grant breathed, barely able to believe it. "We actually did it." But the victory came at a high price. The Valiant and many other ships had been critically damaged in the final assault. Earth's fleet was now reduced to only a few surviving vessels, and many had lost their crew members. The Empire's fleet, now without leadership, began to retreat. Earth's forces, battered but victorious, pressed forward, chasing down the last of the Empire's ships. The battle was won, but the cost had been great. On Earth, people watched in awe as the enemy fleet retreated. It was over. The Empire had been defeated. The humans had shown that no matter how powerful an enemy may seem, they could not break the will of Earth's people. General Williams, standing in the war room, let out a long sigh of relief. They had won. Earth was safe. For now. As the surviving ships returned to Earth, the people of the planet celebrated their victory. They had fought together, faced impossible odds, and had emerged victorious. The war had changed them forever. They had seen what humanity could accomplish when united. They had faced down the Empire, and in the end, it was the strength of their will that had carried them to victory. But the galaxy was still vast, and the war had not been without its scars. Earth had won the battle, but the fight for peace had just begun. The humans knew they would need to rebuild, to heal, and to remain vigilant. But for now, they could rest. They had proven that the heart of humanity, its courage, its hope, its will to survive, was stronger than anything the Empire could throw at them.